Hey guys, what is up? My name is John Bandit. I'm a Twitch streamer over at twitch.tv, coming at you today with another F2P farming guide for Marvel Strike Force. The goal of this video will be to help you guys who are new players or players that are just looking for the most efficient ways to gather character shards, figure out which heroes to focus on so that you can clear things like the heroes campaigns, the villains campaigns, the Nexus campaigns, and the Cosmic Conflicts campaigns. This guide will also hopefully set you up to have a decent start out on the Mystic Force Rising campaign when you hit level 55. It'll help you start at an initial arena team. It'll help you form teams for the blitz missions, and lastly put a few characters in order for a couple different raid teams as well for your alliances. So without further ado, let's get to the list. Coming in at number 12, we have the Shield Medic, who is a character who will be primarily used in your Heroes Assemble campaign, especially early on, but will also be an integral part of your raid teams. She's a decent healer that does an AoE heal that can help quite a few of your teammates top off their health before entering into a new raid mission. Healers are part of any important raid team, and so she's an important early character that you can start farming right away. One of the great things about Shield Medic is that she's readily available because she's available in the Heroes Assemble Chapter 2 Node 3, and also available in the Villains United Chapter 1 Node 6. She's not going to wow you with any damage, but she's got decent speed and a pretty good heal, and is very easy to farm. Now let's move on to number 11. Coming in at number 11, we have Captain America, and this was probably the most difficult character for me to figure out exactly where in this list to put him. Not because of his strength as a character, but because he's one of the hardest farms in the game, especially early on for free-to-play players. Now, here's the things that make Captain America great. He can be used in the Heroes campaign, he can be used in raids, he can be used to get Iron Man in the Iron Man event. He's also going to be an integral part of many arena teams because of his tankiness, but he is very difficult to farm. Now, in my opinion, Captain America is probably the best tank in the game. He's got a taunt that gives defense up to your team. He also has an ability that can chain, which will clear positive effects off of enemy team members, and he also has the ability to block certain abilities from enemy teams. Now, you cannot unlock Captain America until you get to the Heroes Assemble last chapter, last node currently in the game. He's also farmable in Nexus Chapter 5, Node 9, which is also happens to be the same place where you first come across Ultimus in game to battle against. Now, one of my early pieces of advice to you guys, if you are willing to spend a little bit of money, is newer players sometimes do get the option to buy Captain America straight up for $10. I would highly recommend you do so if you're willing to spend the $10. Even though this is a free-to-play player guide, that will be $10 well spent. It will give you a 3-star Captain America and give you some gear from him, and it'll give you access to one of the best tanks in the game. Either way, even if you can't get him early because it takes a while to be able to farm him, I still highly recommend that you start farming him the moment you're able to do so. Let's move on to number 10. Coming in at number 10, we're going to have one of the only minion characters to make this list, and that is going to be Hand Sorceress. She's going to be one of your primary healers, especially for the villains campaigns, and going to be an integral part of your early villains campaigns teams, as well as being an integral second healer in the raids teams that you're going to need. She is not amazing by any means, but her healing is decent, and she also applies defense up to your teammates when she uses her heal. She's also able to have a passive which allows her to go into stealth, which will help her with survivability in many of the raid campaigns. She's easily farmable in Heroes Assemble Chapter 2 Node 9, and also in Nexus Chapter 3 Node 3. Let's move on to number 9. Coming in at number 9 is going to be a character that I actually have not invested a ton of time into, but having talked with a lot of people in my alliance and on my Twitch stream, happens to be a pretty decent character, and that's Nebula. Nebula is going to be an important piece to your villains teams, as well as a very important piece to your early cosmic campaign missions. She can also be used as a damage dealer in raids and on certain blitz teams. The thing that makes Nebula great is that she doesn't have anything super powerful in her kit, but she does decent damage, and almost all of her abilities apply buffs. They apply things like speed ups, counters, and evasions. I can't stress enough the importance of having characters ready to go once you unlock the cosmic campaigns or the mystic campaigns, and Nebula is a fairly easy to farm character that will help you in those particular missions. She's fairly easy to farm in the Heroes Assemble Chapter 4, Node 9, as well as early on in the Nexus campaigns in Chapter 1, Node 3. Let's move on to Character 8. Coming in at number 8 is going to be a hero, well, I guess I should say villain, who is going to be a backbone to your early villains team and possibly even your very, very early arena team. That is Elektra. Elektra is going to be used in the villains campaigns, the raids, the arena, blitz, because she's a character that you get access to so early in the Elektra Assassin event. She has the ability, with her second ability, to clear one positive effect off an enemy team. Remember, she also has the ability to go into stealth, and her third special is a high damage assassinate move that actually in the beta was completely broken because you could use it on the very first turn and eliminate a squishy. One of the things that I think actually makes Elektra super important though, and a high priority farm both for gear and also for stars, is the fact that later on she's going to be one of the few characters that you can use in the Mystic campaign events. As I said earlier, you get access to Elektra very early on from the Elektra Assassin event, but she's also fairly easy to farm in Chapter 3 Node 9 of the Heroes Assemble event and in Nexus Chapter 3 Node 9. Let's move on to number 7. Coming in at number 7 is actually one of my favorite heroes in the entire Marvel universe, and that is Drax. Drax is going to be an important early tank for your Heroes Assemble missions, but also, in my opinion, probably should be your first primary tank farm if you were unable to purchase Captain America. What makes Drax so great is that his passive has him taunt at the opening of battle, but he also has a second ability which allows him to have taunt, defense up, and 2 separate turns of counter. One of the things that also helps with Drax is his survivability, with the fact that he has some minor draining abilities which do allow him to stay alive longer than you would imagine. He will be heavily used in the Heroes Assemble missions, on your arena team, in your blitz teams, and in the raids, but one of the things that makes Drax so important and why I consider him to be such a high priority farm is the fact that he will be used in your cosmic campaigns as one of the few heroes that you are able to unlock and use early on. The only place that you can farm Drax outside of orbs is in the arena store. I would highly recommend that you alternate between Drax and a character that we'll talk about later when farming them up. Let's move on to number 6. Coming in at number 6 is a fan favorite and someone who is littered throughout the arena, and that is Crossbones. Crossbones is a villain tank who does massive AoE damage, but is probably not quite as tanky as you would expect a tank to be, although he can get the job done at times. Crossbones is going to be used primarily in your villains campaigns, as well as probably being an integral part of your arena team and your blitz teams. You can pick him up relatively easy in a number of different places. You can pick him up in the Double Crossed event, you can pick him up in the Villains Chapter 4 Node 9, as well as from Blitz currency. And so he's someone that you can focus on relatively easy. The meta right now currently is in favor of high damage dealing AoE characters. Therefore, having a character like Crossbones in your team is going to help you out quite a bit. The one thing that I will say about Crossbones, and this is probably a knock on him and why he's not higher in this list for me, is that he's not a tank in the traditional sense. Therefore, he can die relatively easily, especially if you place taunt on him and don't have a second character that's able to hold on to a lot of the aggro from the enemy team. That being said, he's still extremely strong, he's fairly beefy, and he will do a ton of damage if you can get to his detonate ability. Let's move on to number 5. Coming in at number 5 is going to be another Guardians of the Galaxy character, and that is Gamora. She will be used in the hero campaign missions, but she'll give you your money's worth in the cosmic campaign missions. She's one of the few characters that you're able to use in that particular mission node. She's also going to be an integral part of many arena teams, as well as part of separate teams in many of your blitz teams, as you're trying to use separate teams to unlock more milestones in the blitz challenges. Some of the stuff that makes Gamora such a great character is that she does pretty good damage, but the utility from her Ruthless Blade and her Flying Slash are great. If Gamora is able to kill a character on the enemy team while using either one of those abilities, she immediately gets 100% turn meter. For those of you guys that have played games in this genre like Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, you know that speed is king. Gamora can literally make the difference between you winning and losing a fight, simply whether she's able to proc that 100% turn meter. I have at times gotten 3 attacks in a row with her simply by using these combos. What is also great is that her Flying Slash ability also will apply offense up to you, and her passive Deadly Methods will give 5% crit chance to your teammates and to yourself. You can easily farm Gamora in the Blitz store, but also later in the game she's also easily unlocked in the second chapter last node of the Nexus campaigns. Let's move on to number 4. Coming in at number 4 is currently my favorite hero to play in the game, and that is Hawkeye. Hawkeye is a relatively easy to farm hero that will help you in the Heroes Assemble campaign missions. He'll help you on various blitz teams. He'll help you in the raids. He's an integral part of my arena team, but he's also going to be integral to helping you get Iron Man in the I Am Iron Man event because he is a SHIELD team member. Some of the things that make Iron Man so great is that his kit, while not doing a bunch of damage, provides an incredibly high amount of utility, especially for the arena. His Deadeye is a relatively easy to understand mechanic attack, but it's unavoidable damage, meaning that he can't miss, but also he can pierce through tanks and have a 10% crit chance. Some of the other things that are great, his Concussion Arrow is an amazing ability that does AoE positive effect clears and can also reduce the speed bar of the primary target while also doing some minor damage. His Air Burst is an unavoidable attack that does AoE damage and applies blind to the primary target and has a 50% chance to apply blind to 3 additional targets. One of the last things that makes him great is his passive, which on turn gives him a 30% chance, and if I'm able to upgrade this soon once I get the ability materials, it'll give him a 50% chance to attack someone who's in stealth before he uses an ability and clear stealth from that enemy. As you can see, he provides an amazing amount of utility in any team fight, especially when you're going against teams like the hand teams that have a ton of stealth ability, or someone that has a Black Widow on their team. You can knock them out of stealth relatively quickly and help your team quite a bit. Now, you're going to look to farm Hawkeye in two separate areas. You're going to farm him in the Heroes Assemble area, Chapter 6, Node 6, which I know is later game and maybe a little bit harder of a farm, but he's also easily accessible very early on from the Villains United Chapter 1 Node 9 campaign. And so he's someone that you can unlock relatively easy and start gearing up right away. He's going to provide a ton of utility to your team while not being a main damage dealer, will help your team get through some beefy tanks or people that do a lot of damage. Let's move on to number 3. Coming in at number 3 on our ultimate F2P farming guide is none other than the God of Thunder himself, Thor. Now, let me say this. Thor is one of those characters that I wouldn't actually consider to be an extremely easy farm, but I want you to know that you should start farming him from day one, because the amount of things you can use him for once you have him is incredible. You can use Thor in the hero campaigns, although more than likely you're probably going to have them mostly unlocked by the time you get him, but he's still able to be used in them. You can use him in the arena, and he will probably be an integral part of my arena team here soon. He can be used in the cosmic campaigns. He can be used in the mystic campaigns. He can be used on blitz teams, and he can be used on raid teams. One of the things that I also think makes Thor such a great character is the fact that he has the blaster trait, which means that one particular challenge mode that's blasters only is not a particularly easy to do challenge, because there aren't a ton of blasters in this game and some of them aren't very easy to farm. Adding him to your repertoire of heroes is going to make that particular challenge easier to work through. Now, he has some absolutely amazing abilities. He does a high amount of damage. Even though he's not the fastest character in the world, he does a lot of damage. He has a hammer throw, which can chain up to 9 different abilities and do quite a bit of damage. It can do up to 200% damage with a 60% chance to chain up to 9 adjacent targets for 140% damage. But what's great is his lightning storm. His lightning storm attacks all enemies for 200% damage and stuns the primary target, while also giving you a 30% chance to apply stun to additional targets. This is a great mechanic, not only because it does a lot of damage, but it can save you in an arena battle by stunning the enemy team. I've actually seen some people be able to clear the 6th node of the Nexus campaigns by using someone like Spider-Man and Thor to continue to stun Ultimus and get through that particular node. Now, the thing about Thor that you need to know is he is only available either from raid orbs, Ultimus orbs, or you can farm him, which is the way I recommend doing it, by using all of your raid currency on Thor shards. Ronan and Thor are the 2 highest characters available in the raid currency store. They both cost about 1400 raid currency per 5 shards. I would recommend getting an alliance right away and then using that currency on Thor shards immediately and continuing to use them until you farm him all the way to 7 stars. I promise you that you will not be disappointed if you do so. Let's move on to number 2. Coming in at number 2 is probably the most talked about character since Marvel Strike Force has been released, and that is the Ravager King himself, Yondu. Yondu is an absolutely amazing character in this game. He's got massive AoE damage. He can summon Ravager allies to come either help him heal the team or do massive damage to the enemy team. He is good in the villain campaigns. He's good in the cosmic campaigns. He's going to be able to be used in the mythic campaigns. He's going to be an integral part of many of your arena teams. He's going to be an integral part of your blitz and raid teams as well. He is very, very easy to farm. He's one of the first characters you can farm early on because he's available in the Heroes Assemble Chapter 1 Node 9 mission, which means you should start farming him from day one, and I would even recommend using refreshes early on of that particular node until you have him unlocked so that you can use him on your villain teams. He has a great passive which allows him to copy an enemy positive effect and clear that positive effect, and he's also going to be available eventually when you get to the 6th chapter of the Nexus missions in the last node as well. Without further ado, let's move on to number 1. Alright guys, coming in at number 1 is, in my opinion, probably one of the strongest characters in the game right now, and that is the Shield Agent Quake. Now what makes her so strong is not her power, although she does have a pretty good AoE damage dealing ultimate, but her utility. Now she is going to be great for the Heroes Assemble missions, the arena teams, the blitz missions, the I Am Iron Man event. She's going to be an integral part of that because she's a shield agent. You can use her in raids, and she's going to be, like I said earlier, amazingly helpful for your arena teams. Now, one of the things you need to know about her is she has to be used a specific way to be so useful, but I believe that if you use her abilities properly, she's actually extremely overpowered. What you want to do is use her Seismic Blast ability, which is going to attack your primary target and adjacent targets for 100% damage. So again, not a ton of damage, but it's going to apply slow to them and to adjacent targets. So for example, when I am in an arena battle, I always target one of the heroes on the back line, because that will cause it to slow 3 characters, not 2. Now, that slow is going to allow you to get a turn meter advantage with some of your DPS characters and allow them to survive longer, especially if you have a decent take like Drax or Captain America on your team. Now, she also has an extremely powerful ultimate attack called Earthquake, which attacks all enemies for 270% damage and applies offense down to 3 separate enemies. Oftentimes on my particular current arena team, I will use Quake early. I will taunt with Drax until I can get enough energy for Earthquake and Rocket Raccoon's ultimate as well, and I will go from doing pretty much just a little bit of damage to the team to pretty much wiping the team out after those 2 characters have used their ultimate abilities. Again, I would keep her out of my arena team on defense because the computer AI does not use her kit properly, but in the hands of you on offense, you're going to be able to use her to pretty much beat teams even with a significantly higher amount of power than your team. I oftentimes knock out arena teams that have anywhere from 10 to 15,000 more power than me, simply because this slow mechanic is so overpowered in the game right now. Now, she is an extremely difficult farm, but she's available from time to time in the blitz missions. She's also available in the arena store, and I would recommend using to start with almost all of your arena currency on her until you at least get a couple stars in her, and then switch over to Drax as your tank and alternate between the 2 of them as you're progressing throughout the game. Well guys, that'll wrap up this video. I hope it's been informative. Like I said earlier, it's not meant to be the best characters in the game. There are actually some characters in this game that I think are a lot better than these characters, but if you are a new player or a free-to-play player, these characters are going to help you out significantly, not only in the arena, but in the blitz, in the raids, and unlocking and working through the various campaign missions as you unlock them. As always, if this video was helpful to you, can you give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe? And you can follow me on twitch.tv/JohnBandit. Without further ado, I'll leave you with the outro. Have a great day.